Hi guys, let's consider international migration for a minute. And international migration from one hemisphere to another. A really common international migration that is hemispheric to a certain extent, going from the southern hemisphere to the northern hemisphere, is leaving Latin America and going to United States and Canada. So what are some of the push factors, the reasons people want to leave Latin America? Well, we have a few things. We have crime. We have very high temperatures and humidity. We have political problems. We have a failing job market in some situations, failing economy in some situations. Those are reasons people want to leave. Those are push factors. Pull factors to go to the United States and Canada. Why would people want to go to the United States and Canada? What is pulling them there? Well, it's safer. There is less crime in general. There is better weather, at least more moderate weather in general. And there's more job opportunities. So those are the reasons that you might go from one hemisphere to another. Another hemispheric move I want you to consider, going from China to the United States. So that you're going from the eastern hemisphere to the western hemisphere. Or you might go to China to, let's say, England, eastern hemisphere to western hemisphere. Why would you want to make that move? Well, a lot of the reasons are going to be the same. Your push factors from China, it could be that there's not a lot of freedom. The government is pretty limiting, and especially if you don't agree with the government, they're not going to be very happy with what you have to say. And other reasons, well, there are a lot of jobs in China, but there are jobs that pay better in the United States and England. So you might want to leave because your job pay is pretty low in China. So those would be some push factors. Other push factors would be maybe your family had moved there. You're feeling all lonely and you're sad. You're all by yourself. So you want to go to where your family is. That would be a push factor. So what are the pull factors? Well, chain migration is a pull factor. My family's already there. I want to be there too. It's pulling me there. There's a better paying job there. That's pulling me there. Maybe it's cleaner. Maybe there's less pollution. So those are some of the things that might pull me to the United States, England. Other things might be educational opportunities, might be pulling me there as well, especially if some of the problems in China is that if you're moving to the city and you're not from the city, you can't bring your child to school with you. Your child can't go to school in the city. So that would be kind of just disturbing for some families who want to live in the city, but they aren't from the city originally and can't bring their kids. So you don't have that problem in the United States. Another reason to move to the United States. We're going to consider a different type of migration, which is interregional. It's not moving quite as far of a distance. We're going to look at the United States. So there has been a pretty common pattern in the United States going from the northeast. An example of a northeastern state would be Massachusetts or New York, and then moving to the southeast, like maybe Georgia or Texas. And so we got to consider what's pushing people out of those northeast areas and down into the south. Well, in the north, you have a pretty high population, so that often drives up costs, especially for land. Also, because there's a high population density, there's a lot of competition for the best jobs up there. And it's got pretty bad weather. It gets really cold in the winter and often really hot and humid in the summer. And so sometimes being in a more moderate climate might be better. Well, what would pull you to the south? Well, recently in the south, a lot of jobs have moved down there because it is cheaper for businesses to run their company down there. So the jobs are going down there. So that would pull more people down there because there's more openings. It also has a more temperate climate, at least not as cold in the winter. And so people want to get out of that cold snow and move down to the south. Other reasons you might want to move to the south, you could buy a bigger house. You could have more land to live on. You might not feel like it's so crowded, as much traffic. Those are some other things that are options in the Southeast. Examples would be like Texas, Georgia, Florida, places like that. Okay, let's consider intra-regional migration for just a minute and the push and pull factors involved with intra-regional migration. So intra-regional migration is migration within the same area, but you're moving from, for example, you're moving from a farm, a rural area to a city, an urban area, or you are moving from an urban area to a suburban area. And those, there's going to be some push and pull factors in those as well. Why would you be pushed out of a rural area? Well, you may be pushed out of a rural area because there's not a lot of good paying jobs. And so you want some opportunities. And so you're pushed out because of that. Other reasons to leave a rural area is maybe there's not a lot of really good entertainment options or enrichment options or educational options. So you might be pushed out of the area because your options are so limited. In the city, what is going to pull you to the city? Well, there's going to be jobs in the city. There's going to be a lot more jobs. There's going to be a lot of universities, a lot of different education opportunities. There's going to be museums. There's going to be theaters. There's going to be places to visit and see. It's going to be a lot more interesting if you're looking for things to keep you busy. Now, if you consider a lot of people move to the city, and then after they move to the city, they've been in the city for a while, and then they have a family, and they're like, you know, this is really inconvenient. And especially in the United States, a lot of young people, once they have kids, will move out of the city and into suburbs. And why do they move to suburbs? Well, houses are typically cheaper in the suburbs. You get more land. The schools are often better in the suburbs as far as not necessarily universities, but the elementary schools are better, and the junior high schools and high schools might be better. So it gives you more opportunity for your kid to get a different kind of education. Other opportunities in the suburb, well, schools and houses, that's pretty much why people move to suburbs. And since we've built highways, a lot more people have moved to suburbs. In the United States, there been a counter migration back to cities. So cities are once again becoming popular. Back in, I would say, the 60s and 70s, 80s, 90s, the development of the suburbs was really strong, but now in the 2000s, there's a reemergence of the cities, and there's a counter urbanization where people are moving back into the cities. They're tired of the commutes, and they're starting to rebuild the cities. They're starting to create some good schools in the cities for the kids and make the city environment a little more positive for kids. So where do you see this migration from rural to urban? You see it a lot in China. There's huge numbers of people moving from rural areas to urban areas in China. The United States, you see the urban to rural, but not quite as much. You see more the urban to suburban, and then we see the moving back to the cities from the suburbs it's a little more common. We do have some rural to urban move in the United States as well.